What's good, my people? I hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Here's 5 stories I will get into in the near future, but just to keep you in tune to what's going on, check this out. 5 of Staten Island's most notorious homicides are up for parole this year. Staten Island, New York. One man savagely killed a 10-year-old girl. Another crushed a young mother's skull. One man was just 20 years old when he stabbed a disabled Vietnam veteran to death. Those 3 men are among 5 notable inmates from Staten Island who are serving time for murder. All 5 are eligible for parole this year, and all were previously denied multiple times by the parole board for various reasons. Despite those rejections, they will all reappear before parole commissioners in the coming months. Read on to learn more about the inmates, their crimes, and when they'll meet the parole board. Matthew Pop. He and his wife killed their little daughter. Matthew Pop left, and his daughter, Silena Herrenkind, right, as an infant. Matthew Pop left is serving a sentence of 15 years to life stemming from the death of his daughter, Silena Herrenkind, 3, seen as an infant, in 2001. His ex-wife, Julie Herrenkind, is serving a 25-year sentence. Silena Herrenkind was just 3 years old when she died at her parents' hands over 20 years ago. Matthew Pop and his spouse, Julie Herrenkind, brutally killed their daughter in the family's Boyd Street home in Stapleton on November 5, 2001, said authorities. Prosecutors alleged Pop, now 47, and Herrenkind, now 45, tortured the 22-pound victim because the child had soiled herself. The couple rubbed the little girl's body with a scouring pad, force-fed her soap, held her head under running water for 4 or 5 minutes, and left her lying in a bathtub, said officials. The victim died of asphyxia when her tongue was forced back over her airwaves as water was poured into her mouth and nose, the city medical examiner said. Silena also suffered from battered child syndrome, although those injuries did not kill her, said the medical examiner. In September 2003, Pop, then known as Matthew Herrenkind, pleaded guilty in state Supreme Court, St. George, to second-degree murder in exchange for a sentence of 15 years to life in prison. Following, in 2004, Julie Herrenkind was acquitted of second-degree murder at her trial but convicted of first-degree manslaughter. She is serving the maximum 25-year sentence and is not eligible for early release until April 2023, according to online records of the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Pop was most recently denied parole last year. Asked then to describe his behavior at the time of Silena's death, he replied, "Absolutely horrible, a full failure as a father, as a person." The parole board, however, slammed him for his inhumane treatment of a defenseless child, and his shallow expression of remorse. Pop is currently incarcerated in Clinton Correctional Facility in Clinton County. The parole board is scheduled to interview him in April. Keith Vicio, murdered 10-year-old girl. Keith Vicio is serving a sentence of 20 years to life for killing Lorraine Pacifico, 10, at the train tracks in Oakwood in 1980. At his most recent parole board hearing in 2020, Keith Vicio made a startling admission. Vicio, who savagely killed Lorraine Pacifico, 10, on July 7, 1980, near the victim's Oakwood home, said he shouldn't be sprung from prison. "All I know is I am just sorry for what I did, and, I deserve to be here," said Vicio, according to a transcript of his interview. The board agreed and denied him for the 11th straight time, calling the young girl's death brutal and senseless. Vicio was just 20 when he killed Lorraine. Authorities said he smashed the victim's skull 20 times with a rock and slashed her stomach, from neck to waist, several times with a broken beer bottle. A prior parole board report said the child was partially nude. At the time of the attack, Vicio was under the influence of a mix of quaaludes and alcohol after quitting his job as a clerk for a Manhattan stock brokerage firm earlier that same day, said Advance reports. Vicio later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced in January 1981. He admitted he killed Lorraine once she began screaming after he refused to let her leave. The Pacifico family believes it was a sex attack and that Lorraine fought back. Now, 61, Vicio is serving a sentence of 20 years to life. He is housed in Adirondack Correctional Facility in Essex County and is scheduled to appear before the parole board in May. Daniel Stratton, killed young mom and gruesome murder killer of young mom up for parole again. Daniel Stratton, Rebecca Fine couldn't have known that meeting Daniel Stratton at a local service station was one of the last things she would ever do. The young mother's lifeless body was found on the beach at the foot of Craig Avenue, Tottenville, on September 25, 1987. Her skull had been crushed. Stratton was later arrested and convicted of murdering Fine. However, at a parole board hearing in 2020, he maintained it was all an accident, and he never intended to hurt her at all. Stratton said Fine was injured when he accidentally hit her with a steering wheel locking device he tossed into the back of a van in which they were riding. That explanation didn't ring true to board members who again rejected Stratton's bid for release. Authorities said the fatal events were set in motion on September 24, 1987, when Fine met Stratton, then 20, at a gas station where he worked. She arranged for him to pick up her fiancé's van the next morning to have its brakes fixed, according to witness testimony at his trial in State Supreme Court, St. George. Stratton came by, got the van, and drove off with Fine. The victim never made it home. She was later discovered dead on the beach. The van was stuck in the sand about 60 feet from Fine's body. Stratton went on the lam afterward and was arrested about a week later on October 1 in Queens. He had a bus ticket for Miami when taken into custody. Police found human blood on his clothing. Stratton, now 54, was also suspected, but never charged, in the death of Judith Ann Somerville, 19, a college student. Her severely decomposed body was found in the woods behind Tottenville High School on September 30, 1987, the day before Stratton's arrest. Somerville had last been seen 3 weeks earlier. Stratton is serving 26.5 years to life for second-degree murder and promoting prison contraband. Housed in Attica Correctional Facility in Wyoming County, he will appear before the parole board in October. Michael Taylor, fatally stabbed disabled veteran killer of gay Vietnam vet in 1990. Up for parole again. Michael Taylor, seen in this NYS Department of Corrections and Community Supervision photo from several years ago, is serving a sentence of 23 years to life for killing James Zappalorti in January 1990. 2 years ago, Michael Taylor told a parole board he was a young, stupid kid, just 20 years old, when he killed James Zappalorti, a disabled Vietnam veteran, in January 1990. The victim was slain near a secluded brick and wood shack he had built close to his parents' home by the Arthur Kill in Charleston. Taylor and an accomplice, Philip Sarlo, had set upon Zappalorti, intent on robbing him as he returned home from a nearby deli. At his parole hearing, Taylor, who stabbed the victim 3 times in the abdomen, said he and Sarlo had targeted Zappalorti because he was gay. Zappalorti was the first murder victim on Staten Island whose slaying was officially designated a bias crime committed because of his sexual preference. Taylor ultimately pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, as did Sarlo, to resolve their cases. Sarlo, who was sentenced to 18 years to life, died in May 1997 at age 33, according to online records of the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. At his parole hearing, Taylor, who is serving a sentence of 23 years to life, said his views about homosexuality have changed over the decades. Were the victim alive today, the 2 men might even be pals, Taylor, now 52, said, according to a transcript of the interview. Parole commissioners weren't impressed and denied Taylor again. The panel called his actions heinous and a total disregard for human life, and expressed concern about his extreme violent nature. Taylor is currently incarcerated in Attica Correctional Facility. The parole board will also interview him in October. Ennis Michaels, killed victim in dispute killer in 1994 slay up for parole again. Ennis Michaels mortally wounded Anthony Kraft, 26, on April 9, 1994, on a Tompkinsville street. Ennis Michaels was convicted of murder for fatally shooting Anthony Kraft, 26, on April 9, 1994. In Tompkinsville during an argument. The killing occurred around 1:30 a.m. at the corner of Bay Street and Victory Boulevard. At his 2-week trial in State Supreme Court, St. George. In May 1996, 5 witnesses fingered Michaels, a West Brighton resident, for the shooting. Some of the prosecution witnesses said the beef between the two men was over money, others said it involved drugs. However, they agreed Michaels turned around and shot Kraft, who lived in Charleston. The mortally wounded man reportedly never regained consciousness and succumbed to injuries to his vital organs 9 days later. The jury convicted Michaels of second-degree murder and 2 counts of gun possession. He was sentenced to 25 years to life for the murder conviction and to 90 months to 15 years for second-degree gun possession and 42 months to 7 years for a third-degree gun possession conviction. The prison terms were run concurrently. Denying Michaels parole in 2020, commissioners cited the gravity of the crime, the inmate's criminal past, his spotty disciplinary record while incarcerated, and his unwillingness to take blame for Kraft's death. The board also pointed to Michaels' seeming lack of remorse for his actions. Michaels, now 57, will appear before the parole board in December. He is currently housed in Ulster Correctional Facility in Ulster County. While these stories are deep, keep watching for updates, giveaways, and more. Please don't forget to hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already.